Hi, James. Thank you for joining me today. I am coming at you fresh off of watching Call of the Void. And to be completely honest, I'm a little bit confused, but I have a feeling that's what you wanted. I don't know. So tell us a little bit about the film and what it's about.
So Call of the Void is a story that, you know, comes from, my deep interest into weird fiction and into, kind of the roots of a lot of modern day horror, which is folklore and also this, fear of the unknown, fear of what's out there. And what I was approaching with this is really, the fact that the out there doesn't have to be that far away. You can find cosmic horror even here on Earth, and Call of the Void is a story about somebody encountering that in a way that is unexpected and intimate. Um, so our main character Murray, is going out into nature seeking peace, seeking kind of a realignment of her life. She's recently lost her brother. She's got some alienation from her parents, and she just lost her job. And the trifecta of all these different, kind of, personal crises has led her to this point. And when she gets out there, she's found solitude, but she hasn't quite found peace. And then a band moves in to the cabin next door to hers. She's at a summertime. She's at a ski resort in the summertime, which is also a bit of a, out of sync with the world sort of scenario to be in. So she meets this band and she discovers that there is a strange hum in the area that is a phenomenon that is being studied by a scientist who knows this band is also a group of college students. And after that, I have to say you got to watch the movie to find out. But it's as you know, it's a strange journey that Murray goes on.
For sure. Yeah, I quite like that sound was such a big part of the film. And two songs that we hear are very catchy. But tell me, is there a relationship between grief and the music in this movie? And is the music supposed to, in any way, help free Marie from her grief?
That's a great question. So the music very much what was on my mind while writing this movie, which I actually started writing before the pandemic, but I think I was definitely meditating more on solitude during that period, as we all got our chance to do so. Um, and in that, I was really thinking about the chaos that is our lives, and how often we as people have difficulty communicating with each other and difficulty working together as a unit. Um, Music is this amazing magic because what it requires and what it compels us and brings to us is a unity. It requires the unity of the musicians to work together. It requires the unity of feeling that it evokes in us as art, and that element of music was, I mean, it's always been important to me personally, and um, all of my movies have an element of music to them beyond the score. But in this particular film, it's like almost, you mentioned sound being so important to this film. The sound, in a way, is the villain, is the monster creeping around the woods. And the antithesis of that sound, that cosmic horror, is the music. Is humanity, is the if people could collectively come together in a good way, they would be safe. And to certain degrees they succeed, in many ways they fail, and the rest is is how the movie resolves itself. And I hope people find that satisfying. But it's a very much music is integral to the story.
So horror has a way of dealing with complex subject matter in quite a different way from other genres. I did notice some of your earlier work was based off of a Stephen King novel. So did any of his work influence your filmmaking as well?
Absolutely. So, I am definitely a self-professed constant reader, as Stephen King often calls his audience and his readers, his fans. I'm one of them. Um, and so inevitably he's influenced every creative work I've done in the genre and also without. I would highly recommend his book on writing as a source of inspiration, if anything, just to kind of, I guess, encourage people to be a little fearless in what they're willing to put on paper. Not just, in terms of subject matter, but just like get get beyond the fear that what you're writing isn't perfect and what you're writing isn't worthy, because you have to keep crafting and working at your craft to get better at it. And we only learn from our failures, and that's how we get to our successes. But yes, I mean, in terms of the genre, I mean, there's definitely I will even put out there for any other constant readers out there, you will find some perhaps some Easter eggs, some little elements of the worlds other than these that are out there, in Call of the Void, and that's because I am very much I'm grateful for not only the opportunity to make my Dollar Baby film, which is Gray Matter. That's the Stephen King adaptation that I got to make in when I was just learning, and and that changed my life. So I'm always going to be a devotee of Stephen King and be grateful for the opportunities he's given me.
Well, talk to me about the end of the film specifically. What did you have in mind with the characters wearing specific colors?
Well, to avoid spoilers, but I will say that the ending of the film for me was kind of something that unlocked what the film was truly about. Um, and the colors that you're referring to are very much um, thematically important to visually kind of showing what has happened to these characters. And to I guess, get more specific about it, I would say that the, you know, going through the process of kind of discovering this tension between unity and between our individuality, um, the every visual element of that, the ending of the film is is in contrast to some of the things that we've seen before, and it's very much trying to show like there is something big has happened, even though it's very small and personal to the characters. They are forever changed. And I know I'm being vague, but I'm just trying to save it for anybody who hasn't seen the movie. But I will say, like the ending, like I was writing this film, I kind of had one of those, almost like you're receiving something kind of moments in writing that ending, and that was the moment where I was like, oh, I don't know what this means, but I really this is important, and I need to figure out what I'm doing with it. And it all the rest of the movie came together for me after that ending kind of crystallized in my mind. So it's I hope people are as excited about it as I am. It was definitely, it was like, oh, this is different, and hopefully that brings satisfaction.
Definitely. So this movie does an interesting thing with Daryl's character in that it subverts a horror trope around black characters specifically. Was that a conscious choice?
I mean, in terms of the writing, no. But Ethan is an actor I'm one so grateful to have gotten to work with. He's an incredibly talented man, and um, uh, a uniquely curious person, and he was very interested in this role specifically because of the challenges that it offered him as an actor. Um, it was interesting in the writing that Daryl became more significant as I was writing it, not knowing necessarily who I was going to cast in terms of like their personal background, but he was very much written as an outsider within this insider group, and it probably isn't coincidental that that element of his character combined with who is cast creates a certain subtext to him, and I think it actually kind of it in a way I find it's maybe reads differently to different viewers, but I think it has an interesting significance in that all of the other characters in the band are not black, and he is, and um it's an interesting dynamic, and it's something I've observed as well in terms of how people respond to the film and how particularly these are all college students, and college is a mixing pot of a place, but it also is very divisive in some ways too. So um
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, Daryl's I again I guess I hesitate to say that there was intentionality behind that casting to kind of say anything profound. I don't have the background to have that kind of I guess I don't feel I have the authority to be making any sort of grand statements here, other than I think Ethan really brought a compelling performance to a character who is intentionally meant to um, stand out and be really an important character to Murray as she
Yeah.
is navigating the situation, and the bond between them that grew in the script, and then even more so as Caitlin and Ethan worked together, they really brought those characters together in such a profound and special way that
Mhm.
it's I don't know. A lot of casting is magic. Is I mean, there's very talented casting directors who are not magic. They're really talented and amazing people. And Lauren and Joran are no different. Those fast casting cast the film, but there is an interesting amount of magic in that you don't necessarily know who all these people are going to be when you go into the process of writing it, and
Yeah.
they inform your characters so much and bring so much to their performances, but also their stories that they are informing these characters with. So I'm grateful for that, and grateful for how that enriches the film and makes these people more real and feel like they're among us in that way.
So with a film like this, interpretation can vary wildly. Uh, but having said that, what's the biggest takeaway you want people to have from Call of the Void?
I really feel like Call of the Void. It's there's no I wouldn't say there's a message, but the themes are all about how we are looking for answers to our problems, and running away from people is not the solution. And I don't think that that's an original idea. I think I see that in a lot of my influences are the writings of the author M.R. James. He's a very in you know in England is a very beloved ghost story writer, and almost exclusively any story he writes that involves somebody going out into the woods to find some sort of inner peace find something else. And that, so, I would say Call of the Void is part of that grand tradition of people going out and getting, kind of woo woo out in the woods to try to find themselves and discovering something else is out there, and it's not and nature um and the wilderness are not they're indifferent to our existence in a in a cosmic way, and
Yeah.
potentially hostile. So that to me is it's more about people uniting is way more valuable to people finding that quote unquote inner peace, or that find community, and finding even through people that we maybe whether they're close family members, or not as close, people we're making acquaintances with. It's important that we find unity and find community, because the alternative is chaos. And I think the story kind of plays out to kind of show another alternative, which is a even worse situation. So
Yeah. Well, that was my final question. It's been great talking to you. And I hope loads of people watch this movie. And I hope that more such movies get to be made.
um, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, and I really appreciate getting to share and talk about this film. It's been been my life for a few years now, and I'm so excited to share it with the world.
Yes. All right. Thank you so much.